so many people in my life just like found out I was queer because of a bloody meme.
Hello, welcome back to Sextras,
where we talk about sex and all the extras.
Yes, I'm Honey, and I recently changed my surname. Fun fact.
Hi, I'm Maria, and my fun fact is I have never cut my fingernails ever with nail clippers.
Maria has the longest nails in the entire world.
No, I don't. I don't have any nails.
She's been growing them her whole life.
I'm going for the Guinness World Record. Oh, you know this the disgusting nails they have.
What, the ones that like curl?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
We are here today with our lovely guest Tori, also known as Toriskingdom on TikTok. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Tori, and my fun fact is that I am allergic to goats.
Very nice. I love allergies.
Oh, me
It just
too.
makes your life so much better.
Honestly.
Do you run into a lot of goats?
You know, I don't tend to run into a huge amount of goats, so it's fine, but I found that out by going to a goat sanctuary, so it's not the best day of my life.
Fuck.
Oh.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Is it just goats?
No, I'm allergic to cats as well, but the goats is just a little
Same.
random secondary allergy. Like, I couldn't have been allergic to, like, dogs or something. It had to be goats. Goats. Had to be goats.
Such a letdown.
I know. Of all the animals.
So we have another game of stereotypes where we asked you guys to send us stereotypes you have about bi girls. So we're just going to have a little chat about that before we dive into the episode. So, Maria?
Let's just start with into threesomes. Thoughts, bi girls?
Yeah, no, can't say I'm particularly eager to start having threesomes.
Yeah,
Not
I
gonna
mean,
lie.
you know, it might be on the bucket list, but it's not on my to-do list for this weekend, so...
Yeah. It's not something I want to be doing regularly.
Have you guys been asked to join a threesome?
Absolutely.
Or for
so
threesome.
many
Oh, yeah.
times.
So many times.
Yeah.
Like if I tell someone I'm sleeping with that I'm bi, they'll be like, "Oh, let's have a threesome." Like right now.
God. I remember when I was like 16 and I was like I thought I was gay at the time but wasn't entirely sure, and I went to a party. Bear in mind I was a virgin at this point, and somebody asked me if I was like bi or gay, and I said yes, and they were like, "Oh yes, then let's have a threesome." Like at 16.
What the fuck?
I know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, at 16, my friend asked me to have a threesome with her and her, like, man friend.
Oh my god.
But,
Oh yeah.
but my boyfriend always jokes about it. He's always like, "Oh yeah, what's the point of dating you if we're not even gonna have a threesome?" Like,
Oh.
but he's joking. But also, like, all my friends are always like, "Yeah, I thought that, like, you guys would have a threesome by now. What's the point then? You're clearly not bi."
What do you mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
Sexual attraction to multiple genders does not mean you're not a monogamous person.
Yeah. I think people really honestly think that it's the same thing.
I think people seem to confuse bisexuality and polyamorous people
Yeah.
frequently.
Yeah.
There is-
I think people do that with just the general like queer community.
Oh yeah, completely. There's a lot of stigma around the LGBT community when it comes to promiscuity. I feel like a lot of stereotypes about, I'd say the two predominant groups are probably gay men and bi women, that we're very sexually promiscuous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
I just don't get it. And also in the submissions, like, people saying, will cheat, promiscuous, they won't make up their mind about which one, so then they're always inclined to, like, go for the other, which is so true.
It is
Literally,
completely true. If I have a bad dating experience with one gender, I'll immediately be like, right, straight to the other one.
Yeah, but that's like a perk of being bi.
That is the
you
perk
have
of being
all the
bi.
choice.
That, like, being bisexual is such an amazing thing. Like, being attracted to multiple genders, and like not even necessarily being attracted to the gender, but being attracted to people regardless of their gender.
Yeah.
It's like a gift in a way. It's just like being able to walk past anybody on the street and just be like, oh, they're fit. Like, it's just, you know, it's great. I love seeing attractive
100%.
people.
100%. I'm so sad for people that don't like. If you don't like guys, you're missing out on such. I mean, no, guys are great in their own way, but like if you don't like one or the other, it's like you're missing out on so much stuff.
Every single gender is so different, and like they all hold different characteristics, and they're like diverse within themselves, and I feel like people who aren't attracted to multiple genders are missing out on so much. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I mean, it's completely not a choice, obviously, but like if it was, like, I just feel like, you know, explore your options.
I mean, that is another stereotype, is that it's a choice.
Oh god.
Oh yeah,
Or
that
that,
it's
like,
just like a phase.
Oh no, and that bi girls are just straight girls having a phase.
Oh yeah, loads of people said that they're not really bi, that they're just like doing it for male attention.
And then it's the same with like bi men just being gay men in the closet. And like I told you guys earlier about how I made a TikTok about how both bi like people, or like bi men and bi women, are both assumed to end up with men. And it's like it's like almost as if people assume that like being attracted to men is the dominant attraction, which in a lot of cases is not true.
Yeah, and it just disregards like lesbians.
No, exactly. It disregards women. And it's like sexuality doesn't just exist to benefit men. Like,
oh no, but it does.
Oh yeah, no, obviously.
Everything is here to serve men.
Oh no.
No, I'm joking.
I just thought of my own bi stereotype. All bi girls are like, ew, men, but they love girls. Like, girls is like, yeah, girls are everything, but to men it's like, ew, no, but then it's like, no, but I'm bi.
Yeah, true.
I mean, true.
It's like finding men, but that's just because men are disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just like living up to the stereotype, but it's true because like most men, we're literally proving this to be right. We'll be like, oh, please have a threesome with me just because you're bi.
No,
so it's not like it's our fault that we find them disgusting.
It's the whole, oh, you're bi, that's so hot. And it's like, my sexuality is not your sexual fetish. Please stop it.
Yeah. It's so annoying. I've literally had someone be like, oh, I have a friend who's really like, who would be really down to have a threesome. I'll just get her to come over like right now.
Really?
Like, what?
That's so
Well, you think I'm
messed
just
up.
gonna say yes? You're not even asking.
It's like, oh, default setting for a bisexual is just, oh, threesome.
Yeah.
I don't want sex with just one person. I want sex with every single gender that I'm attracted to right now.
I'm curious if it's ever, I mean, obviously it is sometimes the bi person suggesting the threesome, but I'd want to know like the percentage of the straight man offering the threesome versus the bi girl.
I'd love to know the ratio of bi girls who want threesomes compared to bi girls who are so fed up with being asked if they want threesomes.
Yeah.
That would be a great ratio.
Yeah.
100% fed up.
Someone else in the submission said that like as soon as you have a boyfriend, you're not bi.
Oh, fuck that.
Oh
Yeah,
my
which goes along
God.
with the like whole, they're not really bi, they're just doing it for attention.
It's like, Maria, you're bilingual, right?
Mm.
So when you're speaking English, does that mean you can only speak English at that one point?
No.
No, you're still bilingual even when you're speaking English. So like, when you're bi, just because you're dating one gender doesn't mean you're straight. It's, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh
The
my
amount
God.
of people that have told me like, oh, like, so, I mean, as a joke, but like, oh, so your boyfriend fixed you. You're straight now.
No, that's...
Nah, fuck
But
that.
to be
Oh my
fair,
God.
to add to that stereotype and like in if there's any truth in it, I feel like when I was dating a girl, I was a lot more into girls and I really thought I was gay. And then when like now that I'm dating a guy, I feel like I'm a lot more into guys. And I don't think I'm straight, but like I do sometimes wonder, like, do you know what I mean?
Like your preference changes.
I reckon that's just a normal part of being in a monogamous relationship, though, is that you are attracted to the person of whom you're in the relationship with, and therefore, like, you tend to be more focused on men because that is what you are currently interested in.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, that's so true.
What was your kind of process in realizing you were bi? Like, did you have a lot of back and forth of like, wait, am I straight? Am I gay?
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, the first time I remember being attracted to a girl, I was like 12, and I was terrified because I was quite Christian and I didn't know if gay was okay or not. Like, I was just very confused, and so I kind of suppressed it for a very long time until a friend, when I was 15, and I were on the train coming back from a concert or something, and she went, "Oh, from the left hand side of the train being straight to the right hand side of the train being gay, I think I'm that seat there." And then she went, "What are you?" And I was like, "I don't fucking know." And so I was a bit like, oh my god, wait, what? And so, like, I literally looked at myself in the mirror like that evening, was like, wait, what if I'm not straight? And then I was like, gay panic ensued. And I was that girl who took like the "Am I gay?" quizzes online to find out, like
Same.
Oh god. But yeah, I did actually come out as bi when I was 15, and then gay when I was 16, and then bi again when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
I did switch it up briefly. But yeah, I think that's another thing is a lot of people are like, oh, a bi girl is just like, you said earlier, like someone was like, oh, bi girls are just gay. And then other people are being like, oh, bi girls are just straight. And I have an issue with people assuming that once you've picked a sexuality label, it's rigid and you can't change it, because in reality, sexuality is very fluid most of the time. And it does change over the course of your life, which is why a lot of bisexuals tend to have what we call bi panic, which is when, you know, sometimes we sit there thinking, oh god, what if I'm actually straight because I can only be attracted to men right now? Or what if I'm actually gay because I'm only attracted to women right now? In reality, sexuality changes dramatically over the course of your life.
Yeah,
but I think that's just like a massive problem with our society, is that everything is always binary. It can never just be fluid. Like, if you don't fit into one category, then you're kind of shunned for it.
Yeah.
And like no one fits into just one category.
No, of course.
Like, it's almost impossible. So it's just stupid. It doesn't benefit anyone. So I mean, except probably men. So.
Yeah. It all circles around to it benefiting men.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the stereotypes.
someone said that they hype being LGBT way more than than like fully gay people. Which I think is true.
Why is that true?
I think it's true. I think it's because you like want to overcompensate. You're like, no, but I am LGBT. I am an LGBT, I promise.
Well, we get a huge amount of biphobia from within our own community. Like, you know, so many like gay women wouldn't date a bi girl, which is like stressful, because it's like, no, I'm not gonna leave you for a man if I commit to you. Like, it's, and I feel like we do, like you say, overcompensate.
Yeah.
Trying to like prove our worth as a member of our own community.
Yeah, so true.
I remember when I was younger and like just came out, or like the few years after I came out, and when I was in a relationship with a girl, I was so into being bi and so into being in the LGBT community. Not that I'm not, but like I had to make it a point that was part of my identity, because I feel like it feels like, especially as a bi girl who's very straight presenting, and like now I have a boyfriend, so even more like I'm in a straight relationship, so now unless I tell you, there's no reason for you to know, realistically. And I feel like for a lot of people sometimes that's scary, because even though I think you are right, honey, what you were saying about how this society has such a problem with everything has to be labeled, I think that in some kind of way that some people do find it really like empowering to have that label. And I feel like in a big way for bi people, because they're not accepted fully by straight society and they're not accepted fully by gay society, then it's like you have to claim it all that more. Do you know what I mean? You have to be like so outward about it, because you have to let it, like, I don't know, you have to take it and make it an empowering thing rather than like a bad thing.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, and I've literally been in conversations with people where they're like, oh, so you're dating a boy, like, does that mean you're like straight now? And I'll be like, no, like, I'm bi, I'm still bi. But it's like, you know they're not going to believe you, so you're just trying to say everything you can to be like, no, but I swear, like, I promise, if I get out of this relationship, like, I'm going to be bi, I'm bi.
It's like it has to be such a prominent part of your identity so that you don't have to keep proving to straight people that you are in fact what you say you are.
Yeah. Oh, it's kind of exhausting.
It is exhausting. It's just like, why can't you just take what I say at face value? I think a lot of it is also like, when you are a bi girl who has only ever slept with men or only ever slept with women, people are like, well, how can you know, How can you know that you like the other gender because you've only ever slept with one? And it's like, if you turned round to that person and then said, oh, yeah, but you've only ever slept with men, you've never slept with women, how do you know you're not bi? You've never tried it, you never, and they're just like, oh, but I just know. And it's like, well, yeah, we just know too. It's just, we don't owe people an explanation on our own sexuality.
Yeah, true. Imagine every straight person had to like prove that they were straight.
No, exactly. Like, they don't have to come out. They just exist and everyone's just like, okay, you're just straight. But then as a bi woman, I've only ever slept with men. And so if someone then turned around to me and said, oh, but then you're straight, it's like, well, actually, no. By assuming I am straight because I have only ever, like, had sex with men, you are invalidating my entire identity. Like, you can't tell me what's going on in my own brain. I think a lot of bisexuality has been so overly sexualized that, like, people think sexuality can only be validated by sex. And that's only such a small part of it. Like, attraction and, like, romantic attraction and sexual attraction and aesthetic attraction, they're all very different parts of the same identity.
Yeah, 100%.
And like, you're not more straight if you've slept with more people. It just makes no sense at all.
No, exactly.
And you're not less straight if you've slept with less people either. So.
Yeah, and most people tend to figure out their sexuality when they're still a virgin.
Yeah.
And
it's also kind of just an endless cycle because it's like you're saying, you've only slept with men. I've only slept with one girl. And it's like, because it's so difficult to find bi girls just out in the world, because a lot of lesbian girls don't go for bi girls.
No, exactly.
And don't really like validate our existence. So you'd have to sleep with other bi girls. But to find other bi girls
it's hard.
Kind of
like, I mean, it
difficult.
sounds bad, but like, men just are easier to sleep with. Like,
that
and like, as people, we have needs. Like, it's just,
it just makes sense. But it's also just
it is just like catch-22, isn't it? Like,
I just remembered that when I broke up with my ex-girlfriend, when we broke up or whatever, and I got on Tinder for the first time, and at that point I'd only like kissed and like slept with or done stuff with girls, and I remember I was so scared because I would be like, oh, I'm bi, but then I would thought that guys wouldn't take me seriously and would think that I was just like, I don't know, I just remembered that fear. I remember being really self-conscious of the fact that I'd only slept with women. So it's kind of like the opposite problem.
Yeah. We are literally like textbook examples of the bi struggle, all three of us.
At least we're in it together.
Yeah. Don't you find though, like, as bi women, we have like such a strong alliance with each other. It's like when you find another bisexual girl, you're like, oh my god, a bi girl, oh my god, a bi girl. And it's like, because they have the same understanding of life as you do. Like, they've been through the same shit. Like, they have advice. It's just, I don't know. I feel like we were also like ostracized by society in our own little way, that like we find another bi girl and we're like, yes, you've been sexualized by a man too. You've had like you've been rejected by a gay woman. Like, it's just like, oh my god, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also in a sense, and it's kind of like you get what it's like to be attracted to both girls and guys, and it's so different, and like
you're so
like
different.
You get it. Like, I can talk to someone. Like, you get it.
No, it's like me and some bi girlfriends were like sitting around like chatting. We were like, oh yeah, like being attracted to men is like, ooh, but then being attracted to girls is like, and they were like, oh my god, yeah, I get it. And it was like,
yes, it's so true. Okay, someone said they think being bi makes them edgy and seem sexually more adventurous and open.
I'm sorry, does it
So-
not?
I mean, it's true. It does. Like,
I don't know a
we're
single.
way edgier.
Yeah,
We're way cooler.
I'm sorry, it's just, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Joking apart, though, we are all kind of. I guess when you have to like figure out your own identity in the respect of being bisexual, a lot of the time it comes with other things like figuring out your own aesthetic. It's a whole like section of your life where you have to like make your own path, and I guess that can make people like appear like edgier or whatever. Because we've had to like spend time figuring out who we are, and like makes us slightly stronger in our identities, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. But I also think it goes the other way, and we were talking about this with our friend Will in our last episode, or like 2 episodes ago, about like having to live up to stereotypes or like live up to this expectation of how you present yourself. So like, yeah, we are edgier technically, but also it's like we're limited by all of these things, having to prove like that we are a certain way and that we are like what we claim we are.
That's very true. Maybe it does tie back into the having to make bisexuality such a huge part of our identity then.
Well, yeah,
and I think that's why it seems like we're trying to make ourselves seem edgy for being bi, but it's like, no, we're just trying to get ourselves out of the trap of having to prove to everyone we meet that we're bi. So we just like mention it and be like, yeah, I swear I'm bi, I swear I'm not making it up, I swear, but also I am like such a cool person, and it's not because I'm bi, I swear.
No, it's like I'm a person outside of my sexuality, but my sexuality is valid and I want you to recognise it.
Yeah. Okay, I think I have one last one. Someone said not being believed for being bi, so kind of similar, because they think it's like a phase. The person they're coming up to thinks it's a phase.
Oh yeah, I got that all the time. I think my parents, when I got a boyfriend, were like so relieved, like, oh, thank God. So it was just a phase.
The phase is over.
No, I'm joking. My parents are actually chill, but like I feel like people that I did come out to in my family and stuff were like that. So
let's do a poll from the bi girls. Do you think bisexuality is a phase?
No.
No, I mean, I really think with my expertise in this topic, I would say no.
I reckon, just, top of my head, first thing that comes to mind is no, it's not a phase. Like, why would anyone put themselves through the whole bisexual thing if it was not meant to be? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But then again, as we were saying earlier, like, it is a phase it can be a phase in the way that like sexuality is fluid. So don't be like worried if like you're being like yeah.
But the assumption that everyone who identifies as bisexual is like just having a moment, I think is just damaging.
If anything, being straight is a phase, or like presenting yourself as straight was a phase.
Yeah, you know what? I had a straight phase for 15 years.
Yeah, and now it's over.
So glad I got better, yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for the stereotypes. Shall we talk a little bit about the positives of being bi, aside from what we've already said, and like...
Well, I guess we said earlier, you get to experience a lot more stuff than other people, because you have a lot more choice, I guess.
Yeah, and I think what Tori was saying about having that little community when you actually find it of other bi girls, like it's such a nice feeling, because it's such a niche component of society. Like we don't really get accepted by the LGBTQI plus community, even though we have the B in there, but like, and then we don't really get accepted by straights. So yeah, it's kind of a nice feeling.
Yeah,
it's a nice middle ground.
I love that we get to have sex with girls and guys. I think that's really great.
True.
I think that's kind of the cherry on top.
I love that we
Yeah.
have the option.
I love being bi.
I love being bisexual. I love being able to just see really attractive like men, women and non-binaries, and it doesn't matter what their gender is. I just see them as they are and think, wow,
Yeah.
you are so attractive. I love that like gender isn't a factor in like being attracted to people. It's just like they are just a human being who I find attractive. So it's like, oh wow, like cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's a whole different appreciation of people.
Yeah, it's like we have a different outlook on like attraction and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah. I was going to ask what you guys think about, because I know there's some parts of the queer community that think that like, or like, I don't know, maybe this is just something that I have thought people think, but I'm just wrong. But like, you know, like pansexuality and how it's like kind of the same as being bi, but it's more like that it's kind of presented as they're more accepting of like trans people or like non-binary people.
Well, I actually watched a YouTube video. Okay, because I've always been under the impression that like I'm basically pan, but I'm bi, but I just don't feel the need to say I'm pan. I don't know. In my head, it's just kind of an unnecessary label. But I actually watched a video in which they kind of explained it in a way that made a lot more sense to me, and it kind of confirmed that I think I'm bi, because basically me as a bi person, like I would date someone that's non-binary, I would date a trans person, like no problem. To me it's not really like a thing, but I feel like gender does play some kind of part in my sexuality, and that's why I would identify as bisexual, because to me it is like too much of a distinction in my head, dating a guy and a girl or a trans person or a non-binary person, than like just liking the person and who they are. And not that I don't I agree with that also, but I think gender does play a part in my head, and that's my personal experience of like why I would identify as bi rather than pan.
Okay. Yeah. What about
That's
you,
fair.
Tori?
I think I usually use the word bisexual because it makes sense to straight people, and I know that sounds like kind of bad,
same
but like
though.
that's why I started using it. And then yeah, like I mean, like it does make sense to straight people, they can comprehend that. So that, and like, you know, most of my friends are straight and it just makes sense to me. But in reality, I think when it comes to my own sexuality, it is too fluid for me to be able to say anything about it, really. I think queer is probably a better like just all-round descriptor for my sexuality, but like
Yeah,
I don't
that
know.
makes sense. Yeah, no, I kind of feel the same way. Like what you were saying about how like gender doesn't really matter, or gender stereotypes or specific qualities. I feel like I don't really look for that in anyone. So yeah, I would never, like I have never described myself as pan, but that's not to say that I don't fit in with some of the qualities of being pan.
I think when it comes to labels, a lot of it is like to make the person whose sexuality it is feel valid. So I guess if somebody is in need of like validating and they come across a label that makes sense to them, they'll be like, oh right, yeah, so like it's okay and it's acceptable that I feel like this because this label like applies to me. And I guess it goes back to the whole like our society like needs like a tick box system for people to understand like themselves and others.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm quite pro labels because I think that they're really helpful to people. I do see the harm in them, of course, but I think that they can be a really helpful tool and make you feel understood and heard.
Yeah, of
in
course.
Like such a profound way, because like if there's a word for what you're feeling,
I think labels are like wonderful, like you said, because people think, oh, I feel this way, and they find a word that applies to them, and then they can then find other people who that word also applies to. It's us. It's like us. We're like, oh, bye girls. It's like we found people who feel the same way as us, and it's like I guess it's the same with every label.
Yeah. Exactly. What about, can you tell us a little bit about sort of your coming out experience, or more like realizing you were bi?
Oh god, my coming out experience was an absolute shit show. Like I won't lie to you, like it was a mess that spanned over like many years. So like first time I came out to someone was the 1st of June, like first day of Pride Month 2016, and it was like one of my closest friends at the time. And, you know, it's just something I slid into conversation, started telling people, got drunk that summer, told a bunch of people.
Classic.
That, yeah. And then that autumn, I thought I might be gay. I also owned a meme account at the time. And I posted, like, a meme of me being like, oh, like, something like getting home after a long day of pretending to be straight, and then, like wiping off my makeup, and it was, like, rainbow underneath. I was like, oh, much better. And it blew up. And, like, it went viral on LGBT meme pages. I was just being tagged, my face, like, being tagged. That was, like, my first taste of, like, internet fame. Being, like, all over the internet. And it outed me to, like, so many people in my life.
Oh, my God.
Like, so many people. Like, people from, like, my primary school. Like, so my first few kisses were all girls. And the first guy that I ever kissed was actually while I thought I was gay. And he messaged me being, like, my cousin told me that you're a lesbian. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, she went to primary school with you, and she saw this meme of you on the internet and sent me the meme of myself.
Oh my God.
And then I went to another party, and, like, it came up in conversation that I'd been in a meme, and this girl straight up turns around to me and was like, oh my God, I knew I recognized you from somewhere. So many people in my life just, like, found out I was queer because of a bloody meme. Yeah, and then, like, I was seeing a girl for a bit, and, like, she was quite popular, and I think she told a few popular people that, like, she was seeing me, and then it, like, spread a bit more, and it was just, yeah, it was messy as hell. It was just small town drama, like, combined with me being gay. Like, it was just not not pleasant. But yeah, and then I came out to my parents last year while I was at church.
Yeah, tell us about that, like, this whole church
Yeah.
side of the whole story.
Oh God, yeah, another shit show, right? So when I was 15 and I figured out that I wasn't straight, I was quite Christian, like I have been most of my life. And in my brain, I guess there must have been a bit of internalized homophobia, because I thought I cannot be a Christian and bisexual. Like, those two things were not compatible in my head. And I thought, well, being bisexual is clearly not a choice, because at the time I was like, I would not have chose this. Retrospectively, I absolutely would have chosen this. You know, I was like, well, I have to drop Christianity then and figure out what I believe in. So yeah, I kind of free rolled into, like, spirituality for, like, a year and a half, and then I was at a party end of year 12, and a girl and I got chatting, and she basically said to me, are you religious? And I said, well, I was a Christian, but then when I figured out I was queer, I dropped it. And she was like, oh, you should come to my church at some point. And I was like, oh, what church? And she was like, oh, it's called Hillsong, like, look it up. And so I did, and, like, you know, I didn't do too much research into it, but it looked kind of cool. And later that year, I'd had, like, a pretty bad dating experience, and I was a bit, like, at a loose end, and I was like, okay, right, like, I need something. So I went to church with this girl, and it kind of appealed to me. Like, it was a church I'd never experienced before. Like, there was loads of young people, everyone was dancing and singing, like, it was insane. And I was like, wow, this is, like, mesmerizing, I'd love to do this more. I thought maybe if I reconnect with my faith, like, all my problems will be solved. And that's what I did. I started going to Hillsong quite regularly. I tried to really get back into my Christianity, and I was still having loads of doubts about my faith, but I was like, no, like, this is the right thing for me, like, this is going to be really good. And yeah, on my gap year, I got really into it. I was working for Hillsong for a bit, like, unpaid work, helping production, and I started having slight intuition kind that, like, Hillsong wasn't okay with people being gay, despite this girl who'd taken me to church first time be like, oh no, they love gay people. And something, I was just, like, little comments that people were making, like, oh, you know, God loves everyone despite their lifestyle and stuff like that. Like, me trying to, I made a comment at, like, a little church group one night called, like, Team Nights. I said, oh, I'd love to make films about gay Christians. And, like, everyone suddenly got a bit uncomfortable, and, like, the vibe kind of shifted. And so I quickly backtracked and was like, oh, no, like, oh, and, like, Christians are, like, all kinds of, like, diverse demographics or whatever, like, you know, trying to push it away. It carried on for a bit until I got to the point where I was like, I don't know whether this is right. So that's when I came out to my mum, because she didn't go to Hillsong. Neither of my parents did. I just needed, like, the support. And then that summer I was, you know, I was having a bit of a tricky period of my life anyway. And then my mum was like, I think you should read this article about Hillsong. Within the article, it was, like, very descriptive, like, just about the church and, like, what it was about. But then it had this section, like, a few paragraphs, which was titled, "We do not affirm a gay lifestyle." And it was basically like this one guy's experience of like being a gay pastor in Hillsong and how it had basically been like asked to leave. And then the head pastor of Hillsong basically said, we love all people, but we do not affirm all lifestyles. That being said, we would not knowingly employ a gay person in a position of worship, either paid or unpaid. And like literally my heart like dropped out my ass. I was like, right, I've got to go then. So I left. I just left a few weeks later and then went to uni and haven't looked back.
Wow.
That's crazy. Do you think during the period that you were going to the church, obviously you said you had like some intuition that it was not for gay people, not supportive of the queer community, but do you think subconsciously any of the messages they were like spreading, do you think that kind of got into your head at all?
I mean, I had a lot of Christian guilt, like a huge amount. I remember like a lot of the sermons, I guess like it is evangelical Christianity, so it's very preaching, like very based on like spreading the gospel as it is. Like they believe that the Bible is the true word of God. That is part of their mission. So a lot of it is like you take the Bible at face value. So some of the sermons would be it's hard to explain. I think a lot of it was I started to clock that Christianity within Hillsong was not the liberal kind of Christianity that I would have needed at that point. So I remember vividly like being sitting in a service and the preacher being like, you should not have the one night stand, you should not have the other drink, like you should not try any of these things. And I was thinking, yeah, but I want to try those things. Like, is it wrong if I try those things? And then like sitting in like my car, I was trying to get a new job at the time, and I think I told like a lie to someone or something earlier that day, and I was like suddenly paranoid that I wasn't going to get my next job because I told a lie and God was going to punish me for that. I mean, you know, I will condemn that they are not supportive of the LGBT community, because I think if you use religion to justify prejudice, then you're not a true Christian. But I'd say I don't want to condemn Hillsong in the respect of the way they preach works for a lot of people. But I'd say when you use Christianity as like a means of control in a way, I'd say like it can be very damaging to certain types of people.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially like queer people, sexually active people, like people who, I don't know, maybe are in like positions where they want to try new things and they want to figure out things about themselves. You know, when I left church, I didn't know anything about myself. Like, I was like, well, who am I if I'm not a Christian, kind of thing.
Yeah. So then I kind of want to ask, because you obviously use your TikTok platform to promote things like feminism and Black Lives Matter. So growing up, like being raised Christian and then also going into this community, how have you managed to make your mind up about these things, and do you think that it's at all compatible with religion?
Oh, I think it's completely compatible with religion. I think that the LGBT community is completely compatible with religion. I think that, you know, the entire concept of religion is love, joy, and acceptance. Like, the entire thing is, like, loving people just regardless, because we're all children of God. Like, it's not about taking people at face value. It's about seeing them as a child of the God that you believe in. And so you, as a religious person, should be actively fighting for feminism and actively fighting for Black Lives Matter and actively fighting for the equality of the LGBTQIA plus community. It's almost your duty as a child of God to look after your brothers and sisters, you would have thought.
Yeah, that's why I ask, because like I'm an atheist, so I don't know, and my whole family are atheist, so from my perspective, like it's hard for me to understand how religion is like compatible with all the hate that they spread.
They do spread a lot. Oh yeah, some people really try to justify their own hatred with Christianity, and my issue with that is like the Bible was written 2,000 years ago. in a period of, or like 4,000 years, I'm not entirely sure, I was a terrible Christian, but like it was written in like a period of time where like society didn't know much. It was still developing. People didn't understand the complexities of like the human condition. And in reality, there are only 6 verses in the Bible out of, I believe, about 38,000 which condemn homosexuality in one way or another.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to take those 6 verses, in fact, the one that people use the most was actually retranslated in 1946 to change the meaning. So it wasn't even originally about homosexuality.
Oh, wow.
If people are going to take those 6 verses out of thousands about love, peace, and compassion, and like use those to discriminate against demographics of people, then they are not Christians. They are just using a book to justify their own prejudice.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. Yeah. So would you identify as like a religious person now?
I would not, no. I wouldn't say I believe in a deity. I believe we have a soul though, so I would say, and I believe like there is more to life than just, you know, biological existence. So I'd probably say I'm a spiritual person.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You said earlier that you're a spiritual person, didn't you, Maria?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a spiritual person. I think my parents are very spiritual, but I mean, I am spiritual because I know, even though I probably identify as an atheist, like I know that I believe in something, even though I don't know exactly what that is. I just know within myself that I don't think that this just like happened, like we're just a biological plane or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't really have any like belief systems or anything like that. It's just kind of a feeling, but I don't really live my life differently because of it. I was raised very Christian, so I feel like I really agree with a lot of the stuff you said about how it is completely compatible, and that's why I don't understand why some of the quote unquote most religious people that I know are the most hateful. Yeah. And that just makes absolutely no sense to me, because I also know plenty of religious people that are plenty loving and that accept homosexual people and all of these things, and I feel like I don't see why you can't do both. Like you should, surely. I mean, I basically completely agree with what you were saying.
Yeah, there seems to be this like conception of like a correlation between being more religious and being less tolerant, and I think that goes like completely against like the core beliefs and values of most major religions.
Yes, that's what I was kind of trying to say, is that I have this preconception of religious people that they're intolerant, but then when I think about the tenets of religion, I'm like, well, it's supposedly spreading love and compassion, and that's why I have trouble.
Yeah, I mean, there were some lovely people I went to church with who like found my TikToks about like how my experience with Hillsong, who I used to go to church with, and they've reached out to me and been like, I never want you to feel like, you know, you're not welcome in a church, and like God loves you and Jesus loves you, like no matter who you are. Like there are some really lovely accepting Christians.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the ones that get the most press are like the ones like the Westboro Baptist Church that give Christians a bad name, and then it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where the people who are attracted to religion are the ones who hold the views of the extremist, kind of like bigoted ones, which is so sad, because religion could be such a force for good.
I agree.
But it's like weaponized by those who want to use it for a force for bad.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a bit more about TikTok, because you were telling us about some of the messages and comments you get on your videos about feminism.
Oh, God.
So
I've put a comment filter on the word dishwasher, so I can't see that anymore, honestly.
Okay, so do you think that the people who go on your page specifically to comment those things, do you think that there's any way these kinds of people are gonna change their minds or like be convinced otherwise? Or I don't know, like where do these people come from is what I'm trying to say. Like,
I don't know, where do they come from? Like, do their mums know that they
Should we clarify who these people are? It's basically like men on TikTok being horrible.
Yeah.
Is it women? Actually, I wanted to ask you this. Have you noticed, is it mostly men, or is it like, are there a lot of girls too that are kind of horrible?
No, I mean, I'd say about 98% of all the hate comments I've ever got have been from
Oh, wow.
like solid 98. Like, I mean, the only like nastier comments I get from girls are ones being like, you need to make feminism more accessible to men, and it's like, well, actually, no, I don't have to water down my struggles to make them palatable to men.
Yeah, I think it's kind of difficult as well with TikTok. I don't really know that much about the algorithm, but I've just like heard about it. Like, obviously every algorithm is kind of designed to show you content that you will already agree with.
Yeah.
So then it must just be these people really going out of their way to be like, you know what, we're just going to shit on all feminists.
Yeah.
Because they obviously disagree with you. So what? They're just searching for your page specifically to leave you comments.
Yeah, I have some people who I like to call my super fans, right? So they don't follow me. They literally do not follow me. I always check to see if they follow me, because it'll say follow back if they do. But they never do, and it's the same people. I couldn't tell you any of their usernames, but when I see them, I'm like, is that little fucker again? And then they're always like, oh my god, you're on my For You page again. You're so ugly and spotty and gross. And I'm like, stop interacting with my content. Like,
yeah.
I'm just like, if you don't want to see me, then block me. Like, if you keep commenting on all my videos, you're just gonna keep seeing them. Like.
I really don't get also the whole commenting on someone's appearance. Like, okay, I will admit, I've never hate commented on anyone's TikTok ever, and I never will. But like sometimes someone will post something and you're just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What I don't get is commenting on someone's physical appearance, because that's just a bit like, and what? Like,
no, literally.
And what?
I will post a video being like, women deserve rights to men, or like, you know, black people shouldn't be shot in the street by law enforcement, and someone will comment, yeah, but you're clapped. And I'm like,
what?
Why is this relevant?
My opinion is no less like valid because you think I'm ugly. Like, it's just like, my value as a human is not determined by a man's perception of how attractive I am. Like, it's just,
yeah,
it's infuriating. Like, I mean, it gets to the point where it's funny. Like, it does, because like someone's like, oh, I think you're ugly, and I'm like, well, sounds like a you problem then, because like I'm fine.
yeah, like I'm just living my life.
Yeah, I'm just vibing. Like, okay.
You know, I love that you post also like so much content about just being like fine with yourself and like loving yourself and like just embracing things that people will be shitting on you for. Like, I feel like that's so important to kind of put that content out there. So in the midst of this whole like social media world of like influencers and fake girls with fake tits and fake lips and filters and all of this stuff feeding you like feel shitty about yourself,
Yeah,
people need to see like, no, you don't have to do that, you're fine the way you are.
I really want people to realize that they are like autonomous human beings who don't owe it to anyone to look a certain way. I think I had to be like strong in how I look, because, you know, I told you guys earlier, like back in like July, some guy made a video being like, oh, how about we get a man to the top of the feminism hashtag? And my video at the time was at the top of the feminism hashtag. And so for 3 weeks, I'd say I got just like relentless hate comments from incels and men being like, you know, you're so ugly, like you go back to the kitchen, like make me a sandwich, you dishwasher, and like, you know, just like really annoying stuff. So like when you're constantly being told like you're ugly because you have acne, you have to, it's like you sink or swim. Like you get to a point where you're like, actually, if I don't like back my own corner, then I'm gonna lose. So it's just like, you have to just look at yourself in the mirror and be like, actually, fuck them, I am pretty.
Yeah.
And I made a video recently being like, I have come to the conclusion that I am stunningly beautiful, and if you disagree with me, you're wrong. And like the second someone's like, yeah, but you're clapped, and you're like, actually, no, you're wrong.
Yeah.
It takes the power away from other people when you can like look at yourself in the mirror and be like, I have this thing that society's told me is a flaw, I had this thing that society has told me is ugly, but I don't give a fuck because I'm pretty.
Yeah, it's what we say, fake it till you make it.
Exactly. Like, you just got to take the power out of society and like be like, actually, no, I am really fit and I got a fat batty and like I deserve the world. Like, it's just, you know.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the biggest problems with social media is just so many people think that their opinion about everything can just be spread because they're hidden behind the screen. And it's like, well, the content that you make is actually helping people and it's actually spreading positivity and why it's so important to be an ally, versus you're just sitting at home specifically looking for this girl that you've never met just to comment on her appearance. Like, how sad must your life be?
Honestly, and it's the fact that people assume that their opinions hold so much importance over other people's lives as well. Like, people really think they're in a position of absolute truth when they're sitting behind a computer with like their name is like, I don't know, like, you know, it's just like they have stupid usernames, like,
Yeah, they always have stupid usernames.
They're always like Blaze at 696969 or something, and then like they have like a profile picture of like for the boys, and then they comment something being like, you have spots, and I'm like, good observation, but like what else have you got, Steve? Like, it's just, you know.
So do you think that social media do you think it's a positive thing in the world? Do you think it's gonna help in terms of allyship and spreading awareness about issues with feminism and Black Lives Matter and all of those kinds of things?
I think social media in some respects is quite similar to religion. Give me a sec to explain. Like I said earlier, it has the capacity to be a tool for great good. Within itself, it could be something really great, but people will use it to weaponize it and spread hate and spread negative philosophies. And like, whoever is in control of it is the one who has the say on like what kind of influence it has. Think about like all the misinformation that was spread about Hillary Clinton back in 2016, just before the elections, like that might have tipped it in Donald Trump's favor. If the people who are on the right side of history, if the people who are fighting for Black Lives Matter and are fighting for like gender equality and are fighting for LGBT rights, if they are the ones who have like the upper hand on social media platforms, then hopefully, in theory, it could influence people's opinions in like a positive way. But also, like, you know, it is a free world, and like the people who have the bigoted opinions have an equal space on that platform to spread their bigotry and hate.
Yeah.
So I think, is social media a influence for good? Is like, the answer is quite subjective depending on who is in control of the social media.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's difficult because as I was saying, like the algorithm and the people we choose to follow and the people we choose to, I mean, not me or any of us, but some people choose to hate on, like those will be the people that they disagree with, and they will only look at the content and like the content that they already hold in their minds. Yeah. So, like, I don't know, do you feel optimistic about the future of, like, it's quite a loaded question, but do you feel optimistic about the future of feminism and any kind of allyship?
I do and I don't. Well, like you said, what you were referring to is kind of like, I learned about it in sociology in like A-level. It's like echoic chamber theory. Like, people are only listening to people who agree with them. Like, they can pick and choose who they listen to. And so people are almost becoming more set in their own ways because of that, because they're choosing to interact with those who hold the same views as them. However, I have also seen, like, not many, but some men who are actively, you know, anti-misogynistic, like actively anti-patriarchy, and the conversations I've had with those men, like, and them like saying, oh, like, this is you know, this is my say, like, I think that this is how we can fix the patriarchy, and I've like, that's an excellent point. And it's like, when you have white allies to the Black community as well, they take the weight off that group a little, because people who are oppressed are tired.
Yeah.
They're tired of constantly having to like prove that they're worth something. I guess that's why allyship is so important. Basically, like, I have seen a shift to more men being like, I am more feminine, I accept my own femininity, I actively like lift up women, I had a conversation with a guy in my DMs like fairly recently, and he was like, I want to write like a series of books educating men on their own like male privilege. And then a guy reposted one of my TikToks today in one of, or like yesterday, in a compilation where he basically was like calling men out on their shit and using like female TikTokers to like set an example.
Yeah.
It's so important also that like the men who need to learn about feminism don't want to learn about it from women.
Yeah. Exactly.
I feel like social media is excellent in that respect.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking from more of a like consumer rather than creator point of view. I've learnt so much stuff from social media.
Yeah.
But then also I feel like I've learned a lot of harmful stuff subconsciously now that I'm thinking about it.
Like
Yeah.
what?
Oh, what a monster. I don't know, well, like being constantly fed all these beauty standards, I'm sure that in my
so
head
true, yeah.
it makes some kind of, because I feel like I'm the kind of person that I don't go on Instagram and I'll like cry at models. I kind of like quite enjoy looking at fit girls on Instagram, to be honest.
To be fair.
But
Looking respectfully.
but I feel like subconsciously it's like going in and making me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not. I don't know.
I think we have to like learn or relearn how to use social media to make it a better place, because yeah, like it definitely can be a force for good, and if we all chose to use it as a way to learn about things and look at content like yours and find ways where we can take some of the weight off the people who are being oppressed, then it would just be such a better, more positive place. But seeing as there are people who just don't really know how social media works, they don't really realize that it's not just a free pass to spread whatever pops into their head, and they don't know how to differentiate between something they see that is like actually the truth and something that is good for them to consume and have in their minds, and other things that aren't so good and that are more harmful.
Yeah.
It just, yeah, I really think that like education around social media, especially with the younger generations now, because it wasn't really a problem like when we were growing up.
No.
Like it should definitely be in the curriculum. So government, like if you're listening to this,
I feel like, yeah,
sort your shit
a
out.
lot more psychological research needs to go into like the actual realistic effects of social media, because like think about it, there's like no regulation online, like there's zero regulation at all, where there is regulation in every other section of our lives. And like
Yeah.
as people, like human nature wise, we are going to go feral if we're given like a space with no consequences. We are.
Yeah, definitely.
And like if you don't have like a clear moral guidance, like you're going to go nuts. Like,
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah. Do you have any like closing thoughts, advice?
I think my main advice to like young people on the internet is you need to learn who you are outside of the internet before you put yourself out there on the internet. Like you need to have a firm understanding of your own morals and values so that you can like adequately criticize the things that you're seeing on the internet. 'Cause, like a lot of the things we see online, we take at face value and we just accept. But like if you're not actively critiquing everything you see, not only are you not going to like root out the problems in it, you're also not going to form your own opinions on stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the younger generation, myself included, we see things on the internet and we think, yes, I like that, so I'm going to, you know, incorporate that into my identity. And it's like, well, actually, no, do I entirely agree with that? Have I thought about it like enough to understand the pros and cons of it so that I can weigh up whether or not I want to incorporate that into my identity? Like, I don't know. I think young people need to have a space outside of like the online world where they can figure out who they are
Yeah.
and be like strong in their own identity before being exposed to, you know, what can potentially be quite a damaging environment, which is online.
Yeah. I think it can be so isolating as well.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine being an 8-year-old with the amount of social media that's just like readily available to them right now. Like I remember when Instagram started, I had it but I didn't really understand what it was, and that was kind of all I had. I had Instagram and then Snapchat like a bit later, but yeah, it was like not even half of the amount of content that is out there today.
I didn't even get Instagram till I was like 15. Like I just never had interest in getting it, and like it was this entire world of like where people would be like, oh, did you see this thing on Instagram? Did you see that thing on Instagram? And they'd be like, well, no, actually, I don't have it.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of like pressure for young people to like have to know everything and be up to date on everything as well, or they're like missing out, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Even with like I have a younger sister, and she'll like bring up stuff and say things, and I will literally just be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel so old, and I just like, I don't know, it's just like you just can't be part of the club now if you're not kind of
No,
really
exactly.
invested in all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess my closing thoughts would be that being bi is so fun and it's very valid. So don't be scared.
And it's not just a phase.
Listen to yourself and listen to what you're actually thinking rather than what the people that are trying to shove you into any kind of box. Like, it's fluid and it's valid. So
Mine's kind of the same as both of yours. Yeah, just kind of question whatever you're being told at home, on the internet. Teach yourself how to question things, and yeah, don't just take what you see for granted and like take it as at face value, because just everything could be so much better if we didn't do that. So please. Yeah, but thank you so much, Tori, for...
Yes, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having
and talking
me.
to us and being so open.
Yes, and telling us about your experiences. Yeah, and kind of like giving us an insight into the world of TikTok. But you can find Tori on TikTok at Toriskingdom. Do you have any other social media that you want to
I am
plug?
on Instagram as well, also Toriskingdom.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram at Sextras Podcast, or you can email us at sextraspodcast@gmail.com. Share the podcast, review it, rate it, subscribe, all of those things. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Why are you so obsessed with talking about sex?
You've been listening to Sextras, presented by Honey Jane Wyatt and Maria Jose Hayodatiyi. Produced by Mable Productions.